This is what happens with Denver, the spillover challenge, the migrant issue, where our city has said, and it also shows the limitations of, municipal government, is that we have said we're not a sanctuary city. We've passed resolutions saying we are not going to do anything to aid the migrant crisis, and yet we're dealing with the challenge, right? I mean, it's been in the news. I know that you guys have spent some time at the apartment complexes. We have dealt with the challenges that are created by bad state law and bad city law in the city of Denver. And so what it's forced us to do, and I think it's a good thing for us to do this, regardless of the other two, is that it's forced us to look at ways to use municipal law to combat that type of bad policy, and to create an example of what good governance can look like. And in hopes, again, that people will say, we want to look more like that than what we have here.
Talking with Dustin Zvonek, at-large Aurora City Council member. Final question. Everybody I talk to, Dustin, says, what is going on in Aurora? We had our perspective. From your perspective as an at-large Aurora City Council member with regards to Venezuelan gangs, can you help set the record straight? What is happening in Aurora? Yeah,
look, there is just no question that there is a presence of Venezuelan gangs, specifically TDA, in Aurora, in these complexes, right? Like, that is true. It is also true that they have been limited to, there are the 3 complexes that are out there, and there's probably a couple other where it just hasn't bubbled up enough, but they are limited to those areas. And I think part of this is where I actually hope that there's an independent investigation into this. I believe that, again, Aurora has said we're not going to aid the migrant crisis. However, there were nonprofits that operate in Denver and Aurora that were getting funding from Denver, from the state, and from the federal government. And as these migrants were being shipped to Denver, they were then putting them into hotels, into apartments in Aurora, giving them vouchers for 3 months, for 6 months. And the landlords were accepting them, allowing them to because they were getting money. And then when the funding ran out, they were still there and they refused to pay. And it wasn't just the migrants who who came across the border and were not a part of the gang that were there. They were also the gang members. And wherever there's, the gang activity, they tend to infiltrate and try to assert their will. And that's what's happened, where they've pushed the landlords out, where they've pushed, any sort of a semblance of law and order out of those areas. So that it was a significant problem. I've had friends all over the country asking me if I'm safe, and the answer is yes, I'm safe. It is isolated, but I want to be very clear that if you are in those complexes or in the area, it was a dangerous situation. And since then, the tension on the complexes has allowed, or has pushed both APD and federal law enforcement to engage, to apprehend a number of the members of TDA, and to try to get some control under these complexes.
Dustin Zvonek, that is very close to what we found in our time down there with the folks actually interviewing the people that live in these complexes. Really appreciate your leadership in the city of Aurora. You're making it a better community. I know you have a lot to battle with what comes from Denver, but thank you for taking time to be on the Jeff and Bill show today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Jeff and Bill, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 710 KNUS.